Just as we fix the environment to help a flower that doesn't bloom, by giving it water, fertilizer, changing its location, etc., we must be attentive to the diverse needs of our students and take the necessary steps to ensure that they feel safe, welcome, supported, and able to grow and succeed in their educational environment. For the next few moments, I will review some of the principles that I believe are integral to advancing equity and inclusivity in my classroom and beyond. Specifically, learning from and about my students, creating a learning environment where diversity is valued, appreciated, and respected, and changes at the macro level, policy, procedures, and curriculum. Knowing your students means more than merely acquiring social or administrating information. Their names and ages, something about their social circle, a bit about their family backgrounds, and a few statistics from their academic background. To maximize learning, we need to dig deeper than this superficial acquaintance. Developing an in-depth understanding of each learner enables teachers to adapt their teaching practices in a way that recognizes that there are multiple access points to learning. As Fingerson suggests, we will have classrooms filled with students with unique interests, needs, experiences, abilities, identities, etc., all of which inform the way we interpret and respond to the world around them. I believe we need to learn these details about each of our students in order to make important connections in our teaching and engage our students in their learning in a meaningful way. Take learning styles or preferences, for example. Knowing these details about our students can help educators take learning difficulties and change them into learning opportunities. For example, a kinesthetic learner may have trouble sitting still and completing independent tasks. Rather than getting frustrated with this student, the teacher could look to create learning opportunities that involve movement and better complement the student's learning style. Kelly and Brand suggest that conventional schooling has been organized in ways that allow young people little say in what and how they learn. Often given their position at the bottom of the hierarchy, they are allowed to exercise little creativity or judgment in their work. My vision for an equitable classroom involves including my students' input, opinions, interests, creativity, and knowledge into lesson content and assessment. If students can see themselves in and relate to the content that is being taught, I believe they become more engaged and invested in their learning experience. This involves devising learning experiences where students are able to make connections between what they are learning and life outside the classroom. That what they are learning is valuable, applicable, and useful, and not just content to memorize and forgotten for a test. In terms of equitable assessment, for example, my vision includes having a variety of means to assess students. I read once that teachers should not assume that only what is measurable is valuable. A student who is a more visual learner may not perform their best on a standardized written test. However, the result of this test may not speak so much to the student's comprehension, but rather their learning style. Given the same information in a way that complements their learning style, the student may perform much better. This highlights the importance of being mindful of students' learning style and trying to adapt my teaching method in a way that complements their learning style. If we are completing a unit, for example, I can give students various assessment options to choose from: presentation, essay, assignment, etc., to show their learning. This in turn provides students with a range of tasks to be assessed and gives them the opportunity to have a voice in demonstrating their knowledge and understanding. These seemingly small modifications can make a big difference in the learning that takes place. In a country that is characterized by such multiculturalism and diversity, it is only natural to expect that our classrooms would reflect the same. As such, exploring, appreciating, valuing, and respecting the many differences that make us all who we are is so important in advancing equity in the service of bettering our students' lives and achieving success for all. Often when we discuss multiculturalism and diversity, we quickly think about race and culture. But there are a number of factors that make us diverse. The Ontario Strategy for Equitable and Inclusive Education defines diversity as the presence of a wide range of human qualities and attributes within a group, organization, or society. The dimensions of diversity include, but are not limited to, ancestry, culture, ethnicity, gender, gender identity, language, physical and intellectual ability, race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, and social economic status. So how do we go about unraveling all of this in the context of our classrooms? Well, first of all, I think it involves working from an anti-oppressive framework that reflects multiple perspectives. Students need to be able to see themselves in and relate to the context that is being taught. As such, teachers need to be open-minded and creative in their pedagogical approach, using the information they have gathered from and about their students as building blocks for lesson planning. According to Ontario's strategy for equitable and inclusive education, creating an inclusive educational environment is based on the principles of acceptance and inclusion of all students. Students see themselves reflected in their curriculum, their physical surroundings, and the broader environment in which diversity is honored and all individuals are respected. I think another part of being able to create an inclusive environment involves acknowledging that the teacher is not the only person in the classroom with knowledge to share. Dr. Banks explores this concept when discussing the pedagogy of liberation, suggesting that teachers and students should learn together, share their perspectives and cultures, and construct new knowledge in the classroom. I do not view education as a one-way street with teachers being the only one that has the knowledge and resources to share. Rather, it is a collaborative process in which information is shared collectively between teachers and students, and both teacher and student make valuable contributions to the educational journey. While I believe the 2 steps discussed thus far are fundamental in advancing equity and bettering the lives of my students, I must also acknowledge that as an educator, my teaching practices will function within the parameters of the policies, procedures, and curriculum that inform the profession. As such, the last step of my action plan relates more to the macro level of education at the policy and decision-making level. Ontario's equity and inclusive education strategy acknowledges the need for revised curriculum policies documents containing more about anti-discrimination education that encourages teachers to recognize the diversity of students' backgrounds, interests, and experiences, and to incorporate a variety of viewpoints and perspectives in learning activities. According to the ministry document, new courses are also being created that focus on gender studies, equity studies, and world cultures. As a result of Ontario's equity and inclusive education strategy, every school board now has an equity and inclusive education policy and a religious guideline in place to support student achievement and promote the well-being of all students. Despite the gain that has been made, there is still much to be done. Although I am a beginning teacher, a big part of my equity action plan includes striving towards making our school curriculums, policies, and procedures more inclusive and representative of the multiculturalism and diversity that is embraced in Canada as fundamental values. While I can make all the strides within my classroom to promote equity and inclusivity, the long-standing and widespread changes will come from a top-down approach, requiring considerable changes at the macro level. I believe for education to truly reflect equity, inclusiveness, and diversity we seek, it is imperative that the goals and efforts at the macro level, with policies, procedures, and curriculum, be harmonious with my goals and efforts at the micro level within my classroom. Advancing equity and inclusiveness in the field of education is a big undertaking that will take much time, energy, and resources. As such, this endeavor is sure to be met with some resistance. Firstly, resistance may become apparent among students. Not all students may be willing to embrace, respect, appreciate, or value cultures, religions, traditions, beliefs, etc. that are different from their own. Furthermore, even if they are willing, their families may not want them to participate in learning about diversity or exposing them to anything that is different than what they are accustomed to. Secondly, I may be met with resistance from colleagues. We are all individuals who have different values, beliefs, and priorities. There may thus be teachers, administrative staffs, and/or principals who do not embrace multiculturalism and diversity and simply don't care to advance equity and inclusive education. This can create challenges and resistance. Finally, at the macro level, making changes to policy, procedures, and curriculum is a lengthy and complex endeavor. As such, there are many forms of resistance that may arise, such as differences of opinion in what should be prioritized in policy and curriculum documents, lack of funding and physical resources, time and support, etc. Regardless of the potential challenges and resistance, the advancements of equitable and inclusive education is invaluable and something I will always strive for in my teaching practice.